What's up, everybody? This is Will here at Schedulefly. And if you don't already use Popmenu, or even if you do, check out this episode. Popmenu is a very, very cool company that we've gotten to know recently. Love what they're doing. They serve just about almost 11,000 restaurants right now. Most of those are mom and pops or small groups. So we share, the same focus on that space, and we share the same focus on really trying to provide something that helps small, local, independent restaurant owners and their teams. We share a very customer-forward, customer-focused, customer service model where we really are trying to take great care of the people that we serve and make their lives easier and give them the opportunities to do what they love most, which is provide great hospitality. So Popmenu has, to give you an example of an external way that what they do is used, go to chaipani.com, ChaipAni, chaipani.com. This is a mutual customer, great restaurant. Click on their menu. You'll see instantly the difference between, like what you see there versus what you may have or what you're used to seeing. That's an external example of what Popmenu does. Internally, man, they're just taking lots of different systems that people have typically compiled and pulled together, and they make the menu a very effective sales tool, and they just make it easy through technology to attract and engage guests, to make them, turn guests into long-term loyal customers, drive more transactions. So just really cool, really easy to use, really well done, great group of people, and very proud to have Brendan on the podcast. So check his episode out. Check out Popmenu. If you mention this podcast when you go to Popmenu and you haven't used them, and you engage them, and if you become a customer, they're going to give you a discount on the photography, and you'll see what that means when you go check out Chaipani's website. So mention this podcast, check them out, enjoy the episode. The episode is sponsored by us here at Schedulefly. If you use pencil and paper or Excel, or you're taking a picture of a schedule and texting it out to your team, and there's lots of phone calls and people missing shifts because poor communication, don't put up with that anymore. Just check out Schedulefly. Go to schedulefly.com. We make scheduling and communication very easy for restaurants, bars, wineries, distilleries, breweries, ice cream shops, coffee shops, you name it. If you're an independent hospitality business and it's not super easy to schedule and communicate with your staff, go to our website, check it out. There's a 30-day free trial. We're not going to get your billing info. We're not getting a credit card. There's no setup fee. There's no cancellation fee. There's no contracts. Go check it out. Give it a try. No high-pressure sales. In fact, you're not even going to hear from us unless you need us. If you need us, we're on it. In fact, my personal cell phone number is right there on the trial sign-up page, so check it out. We'd love the chance to earn your business. This episode is also sponsored by Flip. Flip is our partner in mobile banking, FLYP, flipmoney.com. If you don't love your bank, you should check out Flip, no doubt about it. It's a very cool mobile banking platform, debit card based. So unlike, credit cards, you get all these credit cards have rewards programs, but what debit card has a rewards program? I mean, there may be some, I don't know of any, but Flip does. I have a Flip card. It's great. Every time you use your Flip card, you spin the Flip wheel on your app, and go to the App Store. This is all app based. It's a mobile bank. It's mobile based. Go get the Flip app. You drop $100 in there, and use this promo code Schedulefly. They're going to give you $20 after you've spent your first 100. But here's the deal: you go spend with your debit card, right? And then you pull your phone out and you spin your Flip wheel. And when you spin the Flip wheel, you could win 1% cash back, 2%, 10%, 50%, up to 110% cash back. So pretty cool, very cool. They have a leaderboard on there. You can see who's won the most cash, and who the recent leaders are with how much money they won when they've spun the flip wheel. If you don't win cash, you can win flip coins, and then you can use flip coins to enter into drawings and contests and things like that. So, I mean, this stuff is really cool. They just added like peer-to-peer payments. So something, like Venmo or some of these other ones where you can pay your peers for no fee. And that's another thing, no fees on this stuff. So there's no ATM fees. You can use 37,000 ATMs at no charge. There's no minimum balance. Like most banks make you keep a minimum balance, and that's how they make money. They you have to keep $250 in there, and if you go below that, they charge a fee. Flip guys, man, they're not doing any of that stuff. We know them. Great people, great team, great product. Flipmoney.com. Check it out. Y'all enjoy this episode with Brendan Sweeney of Popmenu, and more episodes coming soon. Thank you for listening. See ya. All right, we are live. Brendan, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Brendan Sweeney. I'm one of the founders of Popmenu, and am also the CEO.
Awesome, man. And here we are in the offices. You guys have got some freaking cool offices here, man.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, John showed me around. Your culture's amazing. We spent the last couple hours talking about the business, and I learned a lot, which will actually probably help me ask good questions. But so thank you for doing this today, first of all.
Of course, my pleasure. Like I said, I can't stop talking about Popmenu.
Well, let's talk about Popmenu. I mean, I know the backstory, but so tell me about why y'all started Popmenu. What happened?
Yeah, let me reach back, because it's right about 6 years at this time of the year that it started to become real. And so the original idea was really consumer focused, and it had to do with something super obvious, and that's, wow, it's strange. At the time, it was 2014 when the original idea came out, and I had been doing internet product for 20 years already, and including building restaurant websites by hand back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah, okay. Before it was all templated, before there were things like Webflow, and I even think WordPress was still really, really new. And so it's funny that it goes back that far, but 2014, my job at the time, I was spending a lot of time in Europe. I was working for a career builder in Europe. One of my co-founders and several others that started this business were also there. But I took it upon myself to be the head of culture, and so I set up all the drinking and eating events. Nice. When we'd be meeting in London or Paris or wherever. And this is a super bougie origin story, but it was then that it struck me that, hey, as I was looking at different restaurants and comparing them, trying to compare them, it was like, wait, why is a PDF still the way that we're figuring out, how we're choosing between different venues? And then even beyond the file format, like, why is it text? Like, by 2014, we were all trained by all modern e-com to have all kinds of decision criteria in place when we're looking to buy something. Photos and reviews and ratings and social validation and recommendation profiles. People like you like things like this. And right. It's like, but here we are in many people's favorite business in the world, and we're choosing with the criteria of black text on white paper.
Right. Yeah.
And it just struck me as, wow, we're still doing this, and surely it's time to change. And at the time, 2014, near me searches were exploding. And we were still, it was really the hockey stick kind of moment of moving to mobile.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, it's almost 10 years ago now. It was 8 years ago. And so we forget that all that stuff was happening. But to me, it was just obvious that this confluence of what consumers were expecting, whether they were browsing or buying, and what small businesses were providing, there was a real gap, and especially with restaurants. And so myself, Mike, who's one of my co-founders and our head of product, we just started kicking around ideas. We can't help ourselves. We annoy everybody with it. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if this? Wouldn't it be cool if that? And so actually sketched out a prototype for what I would want to see as a consumer from a restaurant when I was trying to figure out, where are we going to have this birthday dinner, anniversary, work thing, whatever. Still have that terrible sketch, but it's actually not that far off. But went from a sketch to some, more high fidelity prototypes started to do a lot of research around what was going on with consumers, and started to really become convinced that, man, there's a real opportunity here. And then I got recruited into a company called Commissions Inc. that was providing SaaS to real estate teams, and went there and headed up product, and it was a rocket ship. We re-platformed it and sold it, and it was all done in about under 2 years.
Wow.
And so there was this tremendous just drinking from the fire hose of, hey, here is a playbook for how you can use SaaS as a small local business to take control back from large, technically sophisticated third-party platforms. So we had learned how to help, like a local Atlanta, for example, real estate team. Hey, here's how you take some control back from Zillow so that you're not just beholden to them to get consumer, attraction and engagement. And so because we sold it so fast, and we sold it to a strategic, not to private equity or anything like that, I was free. And so ended up getting together with my co-founders and saying, wow, we had this idea about this restaurant, concept a few years ago. Now we have this real SaaS playbook that really makes sense for restaurants. And the four of us decided, hey, this is worth giving a go. And as soon as we started showing those prototypes to restaurants, they got it. And probably the most fulfilling thing as a internet product person who's been at it a few decades is how many times I've heard restaurant owners say, this is exactly what I would have asked for if I knew how.
Man, that's awesome. How did you start showing it to them? I mean, were you just like literally going, knocking on doors? And,
oh, yeah. Just walk in.
Yeah, I mean, so you didn't have a bunch of restaurant owners you knew or something? You just...
None.
Okay.
I don't think any. So Tony Roy, who's our president and one of the co-founders, he was based in Orange County at the time, and he did have a lot of local restaurant owners that he knew.
Orange County, California.
California, okay. Yeah. Probably the best restaurant market in the country to start selling restaurant technology. There's so many.
Yeah.
And so, here in Atlanta, and I was showing people prototypes, just walk into a local restaurant and say, can I show you something and get your feedback on it? And he was doing the same out in Cali. And so it did not take long. I mean, we built the original platform in about 8 weeks. And we did know one restaurant owner, and they were the first ones we turned on. It was through a relative of one of our wives. And so it's a sushi place in Long Beach, and he had no idea what we were talking about. We were just like, look, you don't have to pay. Can we just take over your website and do this thing, and you just give us feedback? And he agreed, and so they're still on the platform. It's almost 6 years later. And so we just started showing prototypes. We didn't even show them that. We didn't have it. We didn't have the actual platform.
Okay.
We started to go in and show them, and people would say, "Oh, let's go. This looks great." They're excited about it. But then we built it pretty quickly. We got some live examples, and then it didn't take long. We got feedback from those early alpha clients. Didn't take long before we were ready to start selling, and so Tony, along with a few magical people that came to us in unforeseen ways, became our first sales reps, and they were just 1099, and we just paid them when they sold.
So you're bootstrapping this at this. You had an exit,
okay?
Yeah. With your other partners part of that, or that was just you at Commission It?
Two of them were.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, two of them. Two of the four.
So you got some.
So 3 of the 4 of us were at Commissions Inc. together.
Okay.
A different 3 of the 4 of us were at Career Builder together. So there's overlap.
I gotcha. Okay, so you have some financial flexibility and some time to get this thing going.
Yes.
And, okay, that's good.
Yes. Yeah, it's the. I mean, it couldn't have happened otherwise.
Yeah. Because great, you got a cool product, but how do you get thousands and thousands of restaurants to start buying that?
Totally. That's when we started to. So we brought on first 2 contract salespeople. So it was about 4 months in. We brought in our first contract salesperson. A couple months, 3 months later, we brought in our second. We were really selling in earnest 6 months in. And in the next 6 months, we sold 100 restaurants.
Really?
With like 4 contract sales reps.
How were you paying them? Just commission only?
Commission only.
Yeah.
It was 30% of the first year annual contract value. We said, we'll pay you up front for it. We think people are going to stay.
Yeah.
And so we'll take the risk.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Got it. Okay.
And so, so 6 months in, but and we ended the first year of doing the business with about 100 restaurants, and there was really about 6 months of selling. And then in the next few months, we got to about 300 pretty quickly. And that's when we started to get interest from investors. And so we started to talk to people about a seed round. I was starting to say, hey, in the near future, we might be cutting some like 50 grand commission checks. And so it's time to bring in some other money here. And so we had some offers on seed rounds from institutional investors, some VCs. We ended up running our own process and doing a seed round ourselves. 2018, that closed in early June 2018.
Okay. Ran
our first payroll right around then. And I think we had about 15 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So, I mean, early success, obviously, but let me ask you this. All right, so because it's funny you're talking about, you're looking at this in 2014 going, why are there still PDFs on here?
Yeah.
There's tens of thousands of restaurants or hundreds of thousands that are still doing that today, which is great because you got a big total addressable market.
Yeah.
So you were ahead of the curve.
I mean, I think so. And I don't, it's funny because probably the best compliment we've gotten from any investors is this is incredibly obvious.
Yeah.
And so I think when we started doing it, I think there was a lot of just assuming someone else had done it.
Right.
This is so obvious.
Like clearly this is somebody else is already, yeah.
Yeah, someone's doing that.
So I saw, I mean, what you've put together, by the way, is phenomenal. John walked me through it, and I mean, it's really freaking good.
Really proud of it. And the team has done an incredible job of staying with operators and staying with especially independents and small groups, and making sure we're listening. And it's not that they're telling us what they want.
Yeah.
It's that we're digging in and finding out what's your whole world like.
Yeah.
And where can we kind of fill a gap here, fill a gap there. We couldn't have done it without them. Like we've partnered heavily with them. But that's also kind of what's been missing in restaurant tech up until recent, like the last decade, is just that product approach, very user-centric product approaches hasn't been there. It's been like, I built this thing and you got to teach your whole team how to do it. And maybe it was just an engineer and there were no, user experience or product people to kind of round it out and make it really usable. But you're stuck with it and you're just going to keep using it and it's going to be hard. And I think that's really changed. I'm excited about that for restaurants, especially as money has flowed into the from capital markets to restaurant tech over the past few years.
Yeah.
The tools are getting better, the tech's getting better, but you can look back and say it was really bad,
Yeah, for sure.
And so bringing that approach helped us be ahead of the curve. Just I don't think it took anything really special. It just took saying this should be better, and it's not yet, and it doesn't seem like anybody's doing it until let's just get started. And then once we got started, we made it really low priced. And we made it really easy. From day one, we said, we're gonna do all the onboarding.
Yeah.
We'll put your menus in there. We'll get your logo ready. We'll get your visuals together. We'll organize your photography because we know you don't have time to do it.
Yep. Yeah.
And so from the beginning, we've just taken all that on, and tried to make it as easy as possible. We started off at $89 a month. And so it was kind of a no-brainer for people. But that let us build a feedback loop very early that got very big. And that allowed us to start to uncover more and more and more about what restaurants really needed. Not what they said they need, not what they thought they need, but we could see it, because we're talking to so many of them and seeing so many gaps. And so that was really, when you talk about being ahead of the curve, it's like with one little thing, but that was the wedge. That got us in.
That got you in.
And once we got in and we built the big feedback loop, it kind of just is a wheel, and it just keeps going.
Break down. Okay, so tell me more about the product and so if I'm listening to this, you've got, we have mutual customers like Chai Pani up in Asheville.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, they just won James Beard Outstanding Restaurant. Great people, love them. They love y'all. I talked to them, a few weeks ago about y'all. They vetted what you're doing in like 5 or 6 other companies. It was an obvious choice, and they mentioned a couple of things, but like if I'm a restaurant owner and maybe I've got, hey, things seem to be good. I got a PDF menu. Like, why do I need to talk to Popmenu?
Yeah, it's becoming more complex to encapsulate it.
You have a big platform. You have a lot going on, but like down to just the sort of the basic.
Yeah. The basic thing is we saw that restaurants, more and more have recognized I can't just ignore this digital world. I have to engage with it or I'll fall behind.
Yeah.
In the past, you could get away with just having great hospitality, great food.
Yeah.
Word of mouth's going to carry you, right? It's just too noisy now. There's too many options.
Agree.
And I have some of my favorite locals I'll forget about them because I won't see anything for months.
Yeah.
And other things are getting in front of me where I'm like, oh, that's a new dish. That's a new chef's menu. That's a new event, whatever. That's human nature. You see that, you get excited about it. The next time you're planning something with your friends, you say, oh, we got to do this place because I saw this new dish. And if you're not doing that, you're losing business. There's just, whether that's people you're not attracting or people who already know about you that you're not re-engaging.
Yeah.
The problem is it's super, super complex. The digital world, I don't know how many restaurant owners I've talked to who are like, man, I didn't get into this to fool around with a website and Facebook and this and that. And it's like, no, you didn't. But here it is, and it has to be done. But your customers are doing that. That's where they're living. They're a customer. Yeah.
Their customers
exactly.
are living. That's right. Yeah, I mean, that's where they are.
That's where they are.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, what we've seen is that restaurant owners have tried to engage with digital, and they've been given pretty poor tools. A basket of tools. A basket of tools that tend to be point solutions, so they're only handling one thing. This is just email. This is just social. This is just the website, for example. And it's so damn complex and so time consuming to figure it out, first of all, but then to do it consistently. That's the trick. It doesn't have to be fantastic. It just has to be consistent. And so what we saw is that people are engaging with 10, 15, 20 tools to try and cobble together a decent digital consumer experience. It's just too hard. And so what happens? They have to default to relying on third-party platforms. And so because all of these different things are so hard, they don't talk to each other, they're costly. And it's not just the tools. You have to have some. I don't know many restaurateurs actually operating their own MailChimp or Hootsuite, things like that. Like, you're bringing someone in. So there's a freelancer, there's an agency. It's just a complex mess. And so what we saw really was, we started with one idea that was, if you have a dynamic menu experience that has photos and that has ratings built in, that has reviews built in, that's shareable, that feels like a modern e-commerce experience, you're going to put your best foot forward when someone's looking at your website versus another restaurant. Right. We started with that, but then what we started to see is people, then their email, and then their social, and then all these other things were so inadequate, so difficult. Really what we saw was they need simplicity and control. They need simplicity in managing how they present themselves in the digital world, and they need control over it. Because the third-party platforms then take all the control. If you try to do this, mix of tools and mix of services, eventually you give in and say, I'm just going to give Yelp or TripAdvisor or DoorDash or whomever the third-party platform is, I'm just going to give them some money, OpenTable. I'm just going to put it on them, and then I don't have to worry about it. But then you lose the guest contact. You end up paying too much. Re-engagement's really not possible. That's the dynamic that Popmenu is working to solve, is that not that all that stuff goes away. It's just that restaurants take some control back with simplicity so that when they tell their story online, they're in control of it. And in control also means it's fast and it's immediate. And so if I have a change to make to a pricing, if I have a new offer, if I have a new event, whatever it is, they can make that happen in half a second.
Yeah.
And then it goes out to every channel. So whether it's on their site, whether it's on Google My Business, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, wherever, it's all happening at once. It's not the best 30-second elevator pitch.
Oh, man. I mean, well, look, one of the things I thought was extremely cool, which John was showing me, is like you take, like we looked at one restaurant that's not a customer. They have a PDF, right? There's no way for Google to read that. so there's no way to get good SEO. That was one of the things Chai Pani says, how good your SEO is. So when people are looking for a dish or they're looking for something, they're going to pop up. When your menu's sitting there and on a PDF document, Google has no idea. Somebody's looking for, baked, octopus or whatever it is. Like they're not going to find it. But you have beautiful pictures of each menu item. You have the ability to comment on or rate a menu item. So then if I go in, and I rate that I really liked the, burger I had there or whatever, and that happens to be a seasonal bison burger or something like that, and it goes away now and it comes back next spring, you're going to let me know next spring when it comes back automatically without even thinking about, hey, Will, you like that bison burger? Remember that thing? We got it again. Like, that's freaking huge, man. So, like, I would recommend if you're listening to this podcast and we just happen to share this customer, Chai Pani, CHAI, chaipani.com. I mean, check them out. Check out their menu. What the experience you're providing there is what you're providing to all of your 11,000 or so customers now? It's
between 10 and 11. Yeah.
I mean, congrats, dude. That's great growth, and you guys are you're crushing it, and I get it. I mean, I think your sales closure rate's really high. The culture you've created here is really awesome. You have people that clearly care about the people they're serving. So I mean, it's a good thing to see, and you've got a phenomenal product. I mean, what I saw compared to what you typically see, it's really different. Impressive. Yeah, it really is.
Thank you for all the kind words. All that stuff is super important to us, and maybe it's because like I'm a non-traditional CEO. I didn't set out to do it.
Yeah,
and just happened. And maybe it's because we're just different thinkers. But from the beginning, we said, once we realized this would be a business, we said, okay, we have a choice here. Do we just keep doing all this stuff? I mean, the most natural human thing is to just, replicate what you did before.
Right.
It's like, do we keep doing all that stuff that we always bitched about when we were in our old jobs, or do we really do it differently? And I think the nature of the industry we're serving helps us do it differently, in that we're not trying to impress people with jargon, and there's so much corporate BS gets put on the side because you need to do all that stuff when you're trying to justify your job and your fiefdom and things like that when you're in, a big corporation, because you don't know if you're actually helping anybody. You don't know if what you're doing is actually making a difference. We know because we deal with the majority of our clients are independent restaurant owners.
Yeah.
And so we know it makes a difference. And so we don't have to have all the dressing, we don't have to do that. It's just like, can we keep making more and more of an impact? That drives our culture, but it's also really kind of symbiotic with the hospitality industry in that we feed off each other, and and I think that the great thing we did was we brought in real product expertise. Like 3 of the 4 co-founders are product, and the other one's sales go-to-market, which is rare. Usually it's more sales dominated. That made us more product focused from the beginning. We already know how to build product in the cloud. We've done it, all our careers, and we built products that were used by 30 million people a month, globally before. So we knew how to do it at scale. And so I think, investors tend to look for, they want startups and they want software companies that live the problem. And it's like, well, that's why most of the technology in the restaurant space is in back of house, is because everybody lived that problem, whether it's, POS, whether it's scheduling, whether it's inventory. And that is an easy one to start saying, okay, I was doing it on paper, now I'm doing it on a spreadsheet, now I'm continuing to advance it, now it's a software I can sell to other people, right?
Right.
This isn't like that. Like if you're a restaurant owner who knew how to build this, then I bet your food wasn't that great. It's a totally different deal.
Yeah.
And so what we brought in was, hey, we'll bring the expertise on how to build the product, just spend time with us to make sure we understand the right product to build.
Yeah.
That's really at the core of everything for us. And that enables the culture. That attracts great people. That does have a high close rate, because our 2 biggest challenges are, one, just getting restaurateurs to look at it.
Yep.
This is the busiest people in the world who've been sold, by everybody over and over. I've been in meetings with restaurant owners where literally 9 different salespeople show up during the talk. Here comes the local organic veggie guy. Now here comes the liquor guy. Here comes the, just over and over and over. I totally get it. I think it's the busiest, most challenging job in the world. And so I get the resistance when someone's like, hey, I've heard from guys like you before. You're not going to change my life. You don't have this magic wand. And there's real healthy skepticism. Plus, so many people have kind of used their technical knowledge to abuse restaurant owners before because they're too busy. They're not built to deal with technology. And so they've been taken advantage of, whether you're talking freelancers or agencies or third-party platforms. And so there's this natural skepticism. Once we get in front of them, once we get to show it to them, I've never heard of a single demo where someone's like, I don't get it, or I don't see value in it. Sometimes they're too busy. Sometimes there's financial struggle. Sometimes there's whatever, and that's why they don't come on board. Every restaurateur who looks at it is like, I get it. And this is needed for the industry, even if I'm not going to buy it right now.
Yeah. How do you get in front of them?
I mean, persistence, empathy.
I mean, your sales structure, you've got feet on the street.
Yeah.
You've got inside sales.
Yeah.
So you got people out in market that are walking in. Can I get 5 minutes of your time?
That's been the majority of it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until COVID hit that we actually did our first Zoom. I mean, maybe one or two, but our first several thousand customers we walked in.
Yeah.
We have partnerships with people like Cisco, who help connect us with clients of theirs who are there like, was making a delivery to, X barbecue company, and they were complaining about their marketing agency or their website or this and that. Hey, you should talk to Popmenu. That's been a big part of our growth too. And Cisco's been a really good partner for us. But mostly hospitality is a face-to-face industry, and so when you want to come tell somebody, hey, here's this thing that we think is going to be really impactful for your business, it works better in person. We obviously pivoted to Zoom sales during COVID, and we continue to do that when it makes sense.
Was COVID maybe it was a good opportunity for y'all, not to, but because then that's when people had a lot of time to, I did a lot of podcasting because nobody had anything to do, but they were like trying to reassess their business and try to you had to figure out online ordering and all that kind of stuff. It seems like y'all would have had a good opportunity to position yourselves well during COVID. Yeah.
It's hard to talk about.
I know you don't want to, it was a shitty time and it was horrible, but big picture looking back, like that's when a lot of people did. A lot of owners I talk to now, they're like, COVID wound up
net positive.
Other than the suck part, it helped us do. Just yesterday, I did a podcast in Nashville. Anthony Serrato up at Strada, and he's like, I look back now and it's like it made us do things that we kind of knew we needed to do, but we just never had time. And then we finally said, okay, now's the time to make that decision or this decision or deploy this tool or whatever else. So
totally, that like one analogy I've heard from a lot of restaurant owners was, I could put that car up in the rack and work on it instead of working on it while it's driving. Mm-hmm. And so for us, there have been some headwinds and some tailwinds. I mean, we've had to navigate it. Nowhere near, to the degree that our clients have had to.
Yeah.
But we've had to. It's presented challenges and opportunities. And at first, we were really a port in a storm for people when March, April 2020 hit. We had a lot of tools that were. I'm like we were building the right ship when the winds came. The tailwinds came. We had a lot of tools that were already there that all of a sudden became super important. And we were a place where you could consolidate. And so if you said, I can't do on-prem anymore, my revenue is going to be down, who knows how much, massively. But I need to be communicating with people and letting them know, more than ever, I need to stay close with my client base. And so I'm going to be sending out emails. I'm going to be doing social posts. We have this new family dinner. We have this, you can get toilet paper with this one when that was a thing. We had this virtual wine tasting. We had this. It became way more important to have real-time, live, accurate data about what is your restaurant doing. And so most of what we had already built was serving that. And in fact, one of the first things I remember being so kind of blown away by this, that when COVID hit in mid-March, maybe it was around St. Patty's Day 2020, we had all the mandates come, right? It's, hey, everything has to be shut down. There will be no on-prem dining, and no one knew how to communicate that. You know, do you have pickup? Do you have delivery? What can I talk about when it comes to COVID? What's legal? There's
Right.
all this confusion. And we had already built an email engine. You know, that's dead simple. You have all these people that are built into the platform. You type a subject line, you type a message, you hit a button, it's done.
Yeah.
And we were sending less than 1 million emails a month at this point. That Friday hit, I want to say it was like March 20th, March 27th, something like that, 2020. And all these people were saying, I need help to talk about these mandates and what's going on prem and this and that. And so we made a template, we loaded it in the system, and we said, hey, this is ready to go. And it covers everything that you need to cover, that your guests are curious about. You can go in and modify it if you want, or you can just hit a button, it's going to go to all your people. And it broke our emailing. And so we loaded that up, we told people about it, and all of a sudden our email sending jammed up, and we actually had our head of technology, Justice, had to refactor the code for it immediately. And we ended up sending like 700,000 emails that day. And
Wow.
that's when that's one of the things where you start to go, that created a habit of, I'm going to stay in touch with my guest base, my customer base
right.
a lot more closely, because it was so important. Are you open? Are you closed? All of those different things. And so, that's one example of how were you doing that before? If you were using like a MailChimp or a Constant Contact, you were, man, not only do I have to write it, I have to make the template, I have to load my list, I have to dedupe it, I have to do all that stuff. It was just happening.
Yeah.
And so it was a net positive for us in that people got introduced to those tools and said, oh, this is way easier. By the way, there's 10 of these things that are built into this, and I can go from spending $3,000 or $4,000 a month to $300, $400, $500 a month. We were a port in a storm at that point. But then things got more complicated after that too. You had so much going on with online ordering. You had so many. I mean, one of the things that happened was we met. I talked about this the other day. We met with our lead investors end of March 2020, early April, and they were like, "Guys, we have data showing us that half of restaurants are going to be out of business forever."
Yeah.
we were like, well, that's probably a bad investment for you that you made in us. And we said, that's not going to happen. And I brought some data on, how did New York recover after 9/11? How did New Orleans recover after Katrina? And both of those markets obviously exploded with restaurants after. I'm like, this is the most resilient business in the world.
Yes, it is.
It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, but
Yeah.
on the other side of this, it's going to be fine. Month and a half later, they're offering us more money. Hey, we think this is an opportunity and we should go ahead and do a Series B, and we can wire the money in 3 weeks. And so that big flip-flop happened, which also represented people understood, hey, it's not a good time to invest in all of these different things, but it's a great time to invest in restaurant tech. That brought also a lot of noise for restaurants, and there's all these options all of a sudden, and all of this just explosion of kind of well-capitalized restaurant tech companies. And so that got complex, then it became, okay, now we're reopening. We see the value in doing the tech, but there's so much out there. It's hard to evaluate. I'm too busy now. And so things really like that March, April, May of 2020, it was very clear and kind of people were open to talk. And then it was just choppy after that and noisy. And I totally understand people. I mean, they're
trying to figure out, like, one day they were allowed to be open, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, you got to close down again, and then you can open on Friday and it's Wednesday. I mean, they're just trying to figure out how the hell do we just keep,
totally.
Do we get product, and just it was nuts.
It's so complicated, and I don't think another industry was affected as much by these macro events. I know, hospitality, hotels, tourism, all that stuff, it's just not as complicated as running a restaurant already.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying that. Running a hotel, I don't think is as complicated as running a restaurant.
I think running an independent restaurant, a good one, is one of the most, for the people that do it and do it well, it's probably one of the most rewarding things you can do. But it's also, I've interviewed nearly 400 restaurant owners over the last 15 years. And part of why I enjoy doing it so much I tell almost everyone in this, I don't know how you do. I couldn't do what you do. Like it's because every day you have 9 salespeople coming in. The freezer goes out at 2 a.m. This guy quits, like on the job. You've got, water comes through this. It's just non-stop.
Totally.
But then for me, and I think for you, all that I'm hearing here is, we would share this opinion that, like, man, a good independent restaurant is like one of the coolest businesses there is. They're what make the fabric of any great community. Like, you talk about any cool town, it's like, well, why is that town cool? Well, they got freaking awesome independent restaurants. It's like one of the first things anybody will say. And it's where we break bread with friends and family, where we mourn, where we celebrate, where we see people we haven't seen in years. It's like, like you want to go do that at some cool local place where the people and the experience you're going to get is going to be awesome. And for them to pull that off day after day after day and get it right, when behind the scenes there's like chaos going on, like constantly. I admire the crap out of those people. And as I know you are, I'm like, we're so thankful, at Schedule Flight. That's who we serve, because they're incredible people. I mean, just freaking incredible people.
Preach, man.
Preach. Which is why
100%.
I'm really admire what y'all have done, because that's where you live. You live in the world of mom and pops and people with whatever 10 or 12 or fewer locations, and there's just so many of them out there, and they do need what you're doing, and it's I love, man. I got some chills right now, dude. I really appreciate the way y'all have approached this business, and congrats on being able to do it. We have 5 people, and we've done it bootstrapped and all this kind of stuff, and like how you took this and have been able to raise capital and grow at the pace you've grown while still keeping that core foundation of what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it. The way your team approaches your customers, and dude, hats off, man. Like, there's no easy task.
It's not. And I really appreciate the kind words, but going back to the restaurant owners, like, that's harder. I think that's all harder. I think the breadth of challenges and the randomness of the challenges on a daily basis, there's nothing like it. And seeing, I get chills at just the resilience of the people you're talking about, the resilience of the operators, the resilience of the industry over the past couple of years. It's like, I don't think this is actually true, but there's a little bit of, bring it. Well, what's next?
Right.
I've been through the craziest stuff. Now what? Let's just keep going. And I love the agility. I love the lack of bullshit. I just think I think people think of restaurants and they think of Top Chef and they think of, beard winners and stuff like that. And there's a place for all of it. But what I think of now, having worked, in this for 6 years and working with, 10,000 restaurants, is like, man, it's such a blue collar industry. No one has ever gotten rich overnight in a restaurant. It's never happened. It can't happen.
Yep.
And if you have made a living at it, let alone, made a ton of money and made a name for yourself, the amount of work you've put in, there are a few fields I can't really think of any where you would have put in as much work, dealt with as much adversity.
Agree. And
so all that is, I'm really in awe of it. The more operators we work with, the more I'm like, it's an unbelievable profession. And I think just the second part where we come into it is, well, why have they been given such terrible tools for so long when it comes to technology?
Yeah.
And I just think, some of the tropes a lot of them are wrong, that people still talk about the restaurant industry, about the failure rate, and the low margins and things like that. Part of that is fueled by the lack of tools. And so what I see is when people professionalize their tech stack and they professionalize their processes, I'm not talking crazy stuff that you have to, have McKinsey consultants in for, and you don't have to have a master's. Yeah. Pretty simple, kind of shared, best practices. Guess what? You get a point here, you get a point there. You get some breathing room to where it can be operated as a nice, high single digit, low double digit margin business, with real differentiation that can last a long, long time, because the hospitality experience is the biggest differentiation. Well, if you apply some good technology, some good processes to it, you get to spend more time on the hospitality. That's probably the best thing that has come, best quote unquote best thing that's come out of COVID is people understand now technology doesn't have to get in the way of hospitality. And in fact, it can enable it. And when it's at its best, it's kind of in the background doing this stuff that's really repetitive and doesn't make use of the humans that we have, which is the rarest commodity we have now in the restaurant space. And it enables better hospitality when it's done right. And I think more and more as time goes on, it gets to the point where it's being done right. And I think a restaurant should have all of the tools and all of the knowledge about their guests and all of the insights about their business that any modern e-commerce or retail company should have. And when they do, we're on a mission to help in our way in that. Whether it's providing, pieces of feature functionality that bring efficiency, so waitlisting or reservations or the website or online ordering or the AI-based phone answering, whatever it is, those things have their places in efficiency, but then they're also a point of contact for your guest where you can provide some information. So here's an hey, you're on the wait list. Here are our top dishes. Here's an offer. Here's you can preload some drinks, whatever. But also it's a capture point where you can get more information about the guest, know them better, and be able to market to them more efficiently. So, Will, you're on the wait list. We know these things about you. Hey, sign up and become a VIP, and we'll be able to provide more and more personalized recommendations to you. These are all the tools of modern business. And I feel like we and many others are bringing these tools to bear. They will make the restaurant business, it'll come back to how it was, where, the knowing the guest used to be the number one sign of great hospitality, right? Yeah. And it got really complex. Just too much noise, too many options. Someone who might have been a every week in the past, now they have so many options, they might be every month. Getting back to being able to know the guest really, really well and use that information to bring them in more often and get the maximum, I don't have a less crass way of saying it, but get the most, revenue out of them possible. Right. All that becomes possible while you're able to get back to, FaceTime. And for me, hospitality is, let me tell you about this special because it was my grandma's recipe for ropa vieja or whatever it is. Yeah. And here's why you should be getting it and getting me excited about it. And then I have it and then we talk about it. Yeah. And then it's the whiskey pairing and it's the dessert. It's all that stuff. That if the technology enables those conversations to be like they were but back in the day, whatever that was, you're also going to be getting higher margins. You're also going to be less reliant on people, which it's not that the technology needs to replace people. It's not taking jobs. It's replacing people who aren't there. Yeah. And so it's like you'd rather have people, but the technology means you can make your ones that you do have more efficient. Yeah. And that's just all that stuff is a virtuous circle. All that stuff works together to make it a better, easier job for people to do and a better, easier experience for guests. And so I think that probably more than anything encapsulates kind of how we feel about the whole thing. So you were over in Europe. Mm-hmm. Where were you when you came up with the idea? That was when you were... The one I remember is Paris, where I was comparing 3 restaurants. First of all, I have no idea what the hell the ingredients are, Yeah. I don't think I knew at the time that haricot vert was green beans, and so I'm looking at text only. Yeah. And trying to figure out what these things are. It's in another language. And it's a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper that's online is what a PDF is. Are you all over in Europe? Do you sell over there? Yep. So we have, UK is not technically in Europe anymore, but a few. I lived in London. Another one of my co-founders, he lived in London for 9 years, Tony. And we have 3 reps there now. We actually, in 2 weeks, we'll be there for the Restaurant Bar Tech Show for the 2nd straight year. We're the headline sponsor. We were Tech Product of the Year last year there, which was... This is in London? Yeah. Congrats. So thank you. So we have 3 reps there. We've, because of the change in capital markets, we've gone slower going abroad, but actually quite a few of us worked a lot in Europe across multiple, like a dozen countries or so. And we had our business there had like 300 something people. So we know the market well. And I can tell you, London especially, I think that'll be one of our top markets. Like it's built They need exactly what we have. They don't really have a lot of first party tooling over there. They have a lot of agencies building websites and kind of building technology. Ordering is still very heavily third party. There's not much first party ordering at all. So there's a lot to do there. But I was just in the Netherlands a week or two ago. I went to run a half marathon in The Hague and spent time in Amsterdam and spent time in The Hague. And I mean, it's the same story. Every country, every region is the digital footprint is so difficult for restaurateurs to manage that they just need more and more help. So we're excited to push forward in many, many areas, and we've had plenty of interest from all kinds of different countries. We've signed people up from all kinds of different countries, and we're just, we were looking more to fully flesh out the platform before kind of localizing and translating it, doing all that stuff, and then really going after it, putting boots on the ground in different countries. But it's happening. Well, I mean, you've got tons of room to grow here. I mean, you have between 10 and 11,000. Yeah. You've got a 500,000 total addressable market or something here. Probably more. Probably more because, I mean, we also have, food trucks, bubble tea shops, bagel stands. Like, there's so much that kind of doesn't get into the mix that we have plenty of clients who are doing great with us on all those, smaller operations that might be 5 people or less. It's a massive market. There's no one thing I've never had to do when talking to investors, like early on, they would question, will restaurants pay for this technology, in a way that allows you to sustain the business. No one's ever questioned that if you are able to capture the market, it won't be huge. Well, Yeah, it seems like, I mean, I don't know, you guys will grow into boutique hotels and stuff like that too, probably. I mean, there's how do you find a cool boutique hotel in, Charlottesville or whatever, and ways that they can do it. So, well, I'm trying to think if what else do we need to talk about? What else is on your mind that I haven't asked you about yet? Yeah. I just think, I think one thing that's been interesting is people really embraced technology during COVID. They had to. And we always say, hey, there was 10 years of acceleration in 10 weeks. Yeah. Where I've seen people really win is not stopping there. And the clients we have who've been through all this and are continuing, I mean, our best clients are adding new locations, buying hospitality concepts like all the time. Right. And what they're doing is going from strength to strength on the technology piece. And I think there's a lot of, I think one thing is, that adoption did slow again, rightly so. Things got super complex. You had Omicron come through. Before that, you had Delta. That's all complicated the picture. You also had, when people started to come back on-prem, they were conditioned to this frictionless experience that they'd gotten on third-party platforms on technology, and they're like, why is it not like that in person? I'm coming in. It takes me 20 minutes to order. It might take me. I had an experience with my wife. We had a getaway in Miami, like February 2021. So still, still heavy period. Miami was wide open though. So we went there, and we went to this awesome taco place. I would have ordered 3 times as much as we were able to, but nobody could get to us. It literally took 40 minutes to pay. Yeah. And so I think the thing is, what I counsel restaurant owners on is don't stop. And it's not, it's self-serving to say it as I'm running a technology company for restaurants. It's like, yeah, buy more. But the truth is it's better for them. Like it's just an investment in the future and in higher profit margins and in easier life, running the business. More and more tech is coming, despite kind of how capital markets have turned this year. I love when I talk to a restaurant owner. There's one in the area here, in the Atlanta area that I met with a few months ago. And he said he signed up for Popmenu 1 month before COVID hit. And he was like, it's the first thing I thought about canceling. And he said, I didn't, and it was the best decision I made. And it was because he was able to utilize all these tools to maximize his business. And so then there we're sitting 2 years later, he doubled his revenue. He's looking to open a new location. He's looking to do a food truck. And he was just asking me, what else is there? What's next? And I think that's the attitude that gets you. It's hard. Yeah. You got to make time to evaluate. and you got to make time to make it a part of your process and part of your life. But man, it pays off, And I think the operators who are up for that are positioning themselves, like I said, higher margins, easier life, more control of their business. And so I just encourage everybody that's part of your job. It's part of your job to at least evaluate it. It's part of your job to make time for it. You've got so many other things. I totally understand that's not top of your list. But if you're once a month taking a look at something new, you're going to be putting yourself in great position.
Amen. Good.
I will mention just in terms of the newest tech that we built, about a year ago, we released our AI-based phone answering.
Oh, yeah. I saw that on your web. Yeah.
I mention it because, man, people love it. And some of the feedback has been so surprising and so good about...
AI-based phone answering.
Yeah.
So walk me through what happens.
So what happens is instead of... this is still the number one business you have to call, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a table? Can I make an order? Where are you located? Is there parking? Can I bring my pets? On and on and on. People call all the time. And again, when I was in the Netherlands last week, there wasn't a ton of reservation software being utilized. There were quite a few doing some chat-based reservation stuff, but for the most part, it's I have to call to book a table, and if they're not answering the phone, I don't know if I can count on that place. Well, that you move on to the next place, and we've seen this just everywhere. Is people want to call restaurants more than they want to call any other bit. I don't know. I haven't called like a Macy's or anything like that in forever. I call restaurants. So what it does is it takes all your calls and it treats each inquiry like conversationally. And so you can call up one of our clients that's using this and you can say, I'd like to make a reservation. Well, we're going to text you the link to make the reservation. I'd like to make an order. We're going to text you the link to make an order, and we're going to say, this is the best way for you and for us for you to make the order. It's efficient, and to encourage you to use it, here's an offer that comes with it. But also there's hundreds of questions that not only can be answered using AI and machine learning, but our clients can customize the responses. And so, for instance, do you have trivia night isn't just yes or no. Do you have trivia night can also be responded, hey, this is the best trivia night in town. You can't miss our host. He asked the best questions. We have awesome wings that night. And the phone, it just says it. There's no, one of the things that when we started to come up with the concept, one of the things was, it can't be like calling Comcast.
Yeah.
Waiting for the roulette, all the numbers, which number am I calling, and just kind of working through a tree. It's just conversational.
Yeah.
So how it nets out is you get an employee who answers every single call, whether it's at 3 a.m. or whether there are 50 people calling at noon. Every call gets answered. It gets answered. Every question gets answered the way you want it. If they need something like getting on a wait list or getting a reservation or ordering, they're going to be presented with the most efficient path possible. And you're paying that employee like 47 cents an hour.
Yeah.
And so it ends up being just such a lift. Your people are such a valued resource now. You want them working on the highest value, activities possible. Answering the phone is not their highest value activity.
Right.
On the same token, our surveys have shown 40% of people they call a restaurant and get no answer, they're going elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because they can't get hey, my kid has a peanut allergy. Are you guys, cooking with peanut oil? Do you have peanuts in your mix? My wife's vegetarian. What do you have available? If you can't get those questions answered, you move on. Yeah. And we've seen that in the data over and over. Would we prefer a person answer and give great hospitality? Absolutely. Of course. They're not available. And I've spent a lot of time with restaurant owners about the phone answering. I've met many owners who have every call forwarded to themselves because they don't trust the team to answer the questions correctly.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's like, here, you set it and forget it. Here's how all the questions are answered. And it sounds like a person, It's, that it's not a human, but it doesn't sound, like a 1980s.
I didn't understand your question.
Exactly. So I just think it's a great example of we've just stuck with our clients. We saw an opportunity. In this case, I was sitting with multiple restaurant owners who just had to get up over and over and over and answer the phone. And I started to ask, well, who's calling? And what I heard over and over is, I can't pay someone to just answer the phone, but if I miss the call, it could be a private dining event, could be catering, could be a big reservation. I can't miss the opportunity.
Can't miss the call. Yeah.
And so this is just an example of, if you want to capitalize on all of those calls coming in, and you want to make sure that you don't lose any business to it, but you also want your people to be free to do the things that are, the highest value that they can be doing in hospitality, it's a no-brainer. And now we're handling, hundreds of thousands of calls a month. And for some, we had a webinar where one of our clients started talking about the impact it's had on his business, and instantly 2 people wrote, I'm ready to buy right now. Because he was saying, we've gone from people always calling, asking for reservations, to the point where our hosts and hostesses, they were head down in the phone every time somebody would walk up. They can't greet, they can't give great hospitality because they're just answering phones or responding to voicemails. By the way, it captures and transcribes your voicemails and sends them to your team too. And he's like, now they don't answer any calls. And now they're ready to give great hospitality, and their face is up, they're smiling. That's probably the best example of here's how tech can help, and it doesn't feel like tech isn't just a robot, holding hors d'oeuvres and rolling around on the floor. And tech also isn't just a chunky tablet on the table covered with grease stains from kids playing with it, and that's how you pay because you don't want to wait for the waiter anymore. It should be something that just makes everybody better.
What percent of your customers are using that?
It's still pretty new, so it's still low percentage, but it's from Q1 to Q2 we tripled the number of people using it. I think we did it again Q2 to Q3.
That's awesome.
And we're about to really, we have got great videos that are sharing it, on our website that really show how it works. And we're coming into Thanksgiving, Christmas, holidays, all that stuff. It's like you don't want to miss a call.
Yeah.
During those times, because you don't know if it's a big party or if it's a big reservation or big order catering. And so we're really going to make a push to let everybody know, hey, this thing's been out in the wild for over a year. It works great. It's super stable. It's fast. It sounds like people.
How do you handle I got a catering question, or I got a catering event. Doesn't somebody have to? Somebody has to get involved with solidifying that. And
there's always the option to ask for a human.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, what's great is probably 80-90% of the questions, it doesn't take a human to answer them.
Yeah, exactly.
And so then
now you're freed up to actually be available for the ones that, that makes sense.
Exactly. Or it just goes to voicemail and then someone can respond, but it's cutting down so much of the work to be done.
All right, man. This has been fun. Popmenu.com. If people are looking for y'all.
Get.popmenu.com.
Get.popmenu.com.
Yes. And I just encourage everybody, give it a demo. We don't have a super high pressure sales process. Yeah. It's all about, let's just show it to you and understand where are you struggling now, know, and where could we potentially help. But go and see it. We've had so many of our clients write us and tell us, a couple years ago, it's like we wouldn't have made it through COVID without you, which is incredibly fulfilling and humbling.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been like, hey, I've gone from strength to strength. I've doubled or I've tripled my revenue. And obviously that's not all us, but we're helping facilitate that. And so I think it's, we've never had that I know of somebody come away from a demo and saying that didn't make sense to me. Yeah. I don't get it. Yeah. It's always, I get it. I see how it works. I see why it's valuable. And then it just comes down to, are the circumstances right for you to make the move?
Yep. Yep.
And we do all the onboarding, and there's no setup fee. Once you sign up with us, that's your price for life, unless you change products.
I like that.
We still have people from 5 years ago who are on $89 or $99 a month, but now they have all the feature functionality we've built since then.
Yeah.
And there are just a few principles that I'm like, we're going to be small business friendly. Like, it's just who we are.
Yeah.
And we also just think it's a pretty easy to differentiate in the restaurant tech business by being so friendly to what the client needs. We don't keep your data. That's your data. The people who sign up through your website to become part of your CRM, your followers, they're yours. We're not going to push somebody else to them. It's small things, but it's like
it's hospitality, man.
It's hospitality.
I mean, that's what you're treating them the same way they treat their customers. That's the
100%.
Yeah.
100%. That's what we strive to do. And just like hospitality, like not every experience is perfect.
Yeah.
And there are times we screw up, and there are times we, have to own up to it. And I take a lot of pride in how hard our client experience team works to make the best experience possible. Because it is hard. When you're setting somebody up to manage their whole digital platform, like, we need some stuff from you, and sometimes it's hard for people to make the time. We do the best we can to make that process as easy as possible, and we do as much of the work as possible. We're not always going to get it perfect, but we're going to own up to it when we don't. And so we do. This is why it's symbiotic. We operate like a hospitality company.
Yeah.
And I also think I love to see when hospitality companies operate like a tech company. Like, there are so many things that we can learn from each other to make our businesses better.
Absolutely. Brendan, this has been fun, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time. You and your team, y'all built a incredible business, man. Proud to have you on here. Really looking forward to continuing the conversation. But I know you got something else, so we'll wrap this up now. But great business, great story. Love your energy, love your vibe, love the way you just your view on the customers, and you all have done some really awesome work, man. So congratulations.
Appreciate it, Will. Appreciate the kind words. It means a lot. And thanks for letting me, share a bit of our story.
Yeah.
And like I said, my wife loves it if I get to do a podcast, because it means I'll be quiet that evening. I've used all my words.
Get.popmenu.com. Check them out. You've probably got restaurants in your area that are using them. They're growing. They're doing great work. And I've seen the product. It's fantastic. So if you're on PDF or you're on, you don't have these types of tools, you got to check this out. There's no doubt. So give it a shot. And Brendan, thanks, man. That'll be a wrap.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.